right here at Vernon. And again, it is thought that this is the Navigator that was stolen out of Pasadena just yesterday afternoon with the body or with that casket in the back. We will try and confirm that over the course of the next couple of minutes here. The PD ship above tells me that they do believe that this is that vehicle, however. Guys, that is the update from overhead. I'll send it back down to you in Hollywood.
Okay, Mark, thank you. He'll continue to follow that. Obviously going to affect your commute this morning if you take that portion of the 110.
Good morning, everybody. You know what? We are going to take you straight over to Mark Kono in Sky 5 HD. There are several elements related to the situation here along the 110 freeway. You'll cover this, the traffic. I'll help with the alternates, and we'll check in with Steve Cooge. Good morning to you, Mark.
Ginger, good morning to you. Yeah. That they believed had a casket inside. Now, they spotted that vehicle on surface streets. The driver then proceeded onto the 110 freeway southbound, accelerated in a pursuit from Newton Division officers, and then collided with additional vehicles here now. This is confirmed to be the vehicle that was wanted out of Pasadena, that was stolen out of Pasadena last night. In terms of what this is doing is the drive, well, that southbound 110 just before Vernon is entirely shut down at this point here, and they are looking to reopen maybe one of the left lanes over the course of the next several minutes here. But you can see from our shot here, at least 3 vehicles are involved. And if we move in a little bit there, you can see where the city fire department, again, they are treating some people on this side of that 42nd Street overpass. But the vehicle with the casket, we believe, is going to be on the other side. But the backup on this is going to be pretty significant here. Coming out of downtown, that southbound 110 obviously still stopped at this point here. It is slow from well before the 10. Ginger, let me send it back down to you.
And leaving the 10 freeway, there were several reports coming in that maybe that SUV ended up crashing to several other vehicles. A lot of people calling saying they need assistance from the CHP because of that stolen SUV that ended up crashing. Of course, Figueroa, Western, San Pedro, Broadway, Central, all of those running parallel to this stretch. You've got a fast track transponder. You are going to need it. We'll, of course, be tracking the situation. With more on that story, we'll send back to you, Frank.
All right, and covering the story for us on the ground where it all began is our Steve Cooge, where that body in a casket was stolen yesterday on Rosemead Boulevard from a Pasadena church. Steve.
You know, this is obviously a one-in-a-kind Grand Theft Auto type situation. The vehicle was taken from this church last night, and all morning long, and even all through the night, officers, the LA County Sheriff's Department, they were hunting for this hearse, this makeshift hearse, a Lincoln Navigator that was stolen with a body in a casket in the back. Let's go to Sky 5 right now because these are the breaking developments that we just learned. We had this high-speed police chase end on the 110 freeway, and as our Sky 5 was showing us, a number of vehicles involved in this pretty serious crash. We were thinking that the Lincoln Navigator that you see here in the Sky 5 video was the vehicle that was stolen last night, and our suspicions were almost pretty much, we could say, confirmed when we had Sky 5 swing over to the rear of the vehicle and zoom in on the back. And what did we see there? It appears to be a casket. Again, the casket's not open right now. We don't know if the body is still in there. Let's jump to the video that we're talking about right now. What you were just seeing right there, that was taking place on the 110 freeway near the Coliseum Sports Arena and the campus of USC. Meantime, here's how it all began. That black Lincoln Navigator was taken around 8 o'clock last night from East Pasadena. The St. Anthony Greek Orthodox Church is where it belonged to. Officials tell us the SUV was stopped outside of that church located on Rosemead Boulevard north of Huntington Drive as employees were unloading it. The LA County Sheriff's Department told us that that Lincoln Navigator initially had 2 bodies and 2 caskets inside of it when it arrived at the church. The employees took one of those bodies into the church, but when they came back out to get the second body, the vehicle was gone. Somebody hopped in and drove off with it, and detectives weren't sure who took it or where they fled to. Law enforcement was trying to track it as quickly as possible. LA County Sheriff's Department, they did address this incident earlier. They sent out a tweet where they were calling out the vehicle thief directly, writing, as you'll see right here, quote, "Out of all of the bad decisions you have made, at least make one good one and bring back that deceased person and the casket inside the Navigator." Well, judging by the video we see right there, that person did not cooperate. He did not get that message, obviously, because it ended in a pretty serious crash on the 110 freeway, which has completely shut down traffic on the 110 freeway going south right around the campus of USC and the Coliseum Sports Arena. And as we saw right there, it looked like multiple vehicles were involved in this crash. Law enforcement have not officially confirmed to us that the car involved here was the vehicle stolen from this church last night. But again, when we zoomed in with our camera on the back, there does appear to be a casket in there. Hopefully nobody was too seriously hurt in this high-speed police pursuit and crash. Again, these details are just coming into us right now, so please stick with KTLA and KTLA5.com for all the very latest information. Live in East Pasadena, I'm Steve Kuj, KTLA 5 News. Jess Frank, back to you.
Okay, Steve, thank you.
Sergeant Benjamin Grubb is on the phone with us from the LA County Sheriff's Department. Sergeant, first of all, thanks for joining us. What do you know at this point about what happened here?
Well, thank you. Well, first of all, what I'd like to do is show some kind of gratitude and appreciation for the public, as it's my understanding that a member of the public was the one that initially was able to locate the vehicle. After witnessing the vehicle, it's my understanding that they alerted Los Angeles Police Department personnel who engaged with the suspect in a pursuit approximately about 7:40 this morning.
Sergeant Grubb, can you confirm that this is the vehicle that indeed was taken from outside of that church that did have a body in the back?
Yes, I can. As you know, your listeners might know, at about 8 p.m. yesterday evening, I'm on the 7700 block of Rosemead Boulevard near a mortuary. The vehicle in question there, the 2017 Lincoln Navigator Hearse, was left running, unfortunately, and was stolen at approximately that time. We've been looking for this vehicle since last night, and obviously the family of the deceased victim has to be put through further trauma by having to go through this ordeal. After speaking to Los Angeles Police Department this morning, I can confirm that the vehicle is the stolen vehicle, which was stolen yesterday evening, as well as one suspect in custody, and the deceased victim has been located in the back.
And as far as you know, the remains have not been disturbed. Obviously, the entire situation is disturbing, but as you said, the family, this has to be terribly upsetting to them, and you just hope that at least the remains have not been disturbed in any way.
Indeed, it's unfortunate that the family has put through further trauma and having to deal with this situation unfolding as it has. It's my understanding that the deceased individual's remains are undisturbed, besides perhaps some impact from the traffic collision, which is obvious on your screen there.
Do we know anything about the individuals who stole the car?
I just know simply that there's one suspect in custody. I don't have details on the relationship of the suspect to the vehicle or anything of that nature. You might have to get a hold of Los Angeles Police Department later, and we'll meet together with our partners at the Los Angeles Police Department and try to establish some of those facts. And
a number of jurisdictions involved here. This crash happening on a freeway. LAPD was doing a following that turned into a pursuit. You've got LA City Fire on the scene there, and of course LA County Sheriff's. This was your case. Do you have any sense of the actual accident? We know that this SUV was involved, but Mark Hono was showing us earlier a number of vehicles were hit. Do we know if there have been other injuries, serious or minor, to the other motorists?
Well, as you know, we work closely with our partners and our outside agencies and the law enforcement and first responder community in our area. We do appreciate the assistance of all those in helping this come to a conclusion. I don't have details specifically on the injuries involved in this traffic collision, as it's in the Los Angeles Police Department and the California Highway Patrol are working on that investigation. What I do know from what I was able to get from Los Angeles Police Department is, as I said, about 7:45 this morning, a pursuit was initiated behind the vehicle by the Los Angeles Police Department. At some point during the pursuit, the traffic collision occurred, and the suspect was taken into custody.
And is there any timetable you can give us? Obviously, the 110 freeway, a major thoroughfare through Southern California. We can see one lane appears to be getting by, but a huge impact on traffic and commuters this morning. Yeah,
again, I mean, there's an investigation that has to take place. They have to make sure the safe is the scene is safe and secure for vehicle traffic to flow through the area. I can't estimate what time that will be available, but I can see it's an obvious impact to the public, and it's hopeful that we can get the situation cleared up shortly.
All right. Well, Sergeant Benjamin Grubb from LA County Sheriff's Department, we are happy, of course, for the family that the remains of their loved one, that has been recovered, and that you and the other agencies have been able to bring this to a successful conclusion. Sir, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And Ginger, we were just talking about, Jessica was talking about the traffic impacts. That 110 freeway is going to be tied up for quite some time. I
mean, an incredible scene, and you see it with the delays. Earlier, Mark said it was as far back as the 10 freeway. We would anticipate farther back. In fact, let's send it over to Mark Kono in Sky 5 HD. As you're looking at the scene, Mark and his team in Sky 5 HD, of course, first on the scene here, and then we'll get you some of those alternates. Mark, I would expect it to be here for a while because, of course, the pursuit ending in a crash.
I would estimate every bit of an hour at the very least for this particular situation here. At some point, they may reopen an additional lane or two, but the good news here is that, well, they do have that suspect in custody. They have recovered the vehicle as well as the casket, and they have reopened at least one lane of the southbound 110. So this all happened just a short while ago. Southbound side of the 110 freeway from MLK over to Vernon. Here you can see where that Hearse smashed into a couple of other vehicles here. Now, those other vehicles are actually under the 42nd Street overpass here, so we're not going to be able to see that from this vantage point, but we do know that there were injuries. We don't know the severity of those injuries, but we do know that city fire paramedics were working with at least one, possibly more victims here as a result of this crash here. Now, again, this is on the southbound side of the 110 freeway just before Vernon, right at the bottom of the MLK on-ramp to the southbound 110. Rich is showing us the backup on the southbound 110. It is significant here. It is from well before the 10 freeway here. It's probably approaching the numbered streets, the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, Wilshire, 6th, 9th Street. It is going to be very heavy coming out of downtown, heading into South LA on the 110 freeway. Ginger?
Let's just help really quick so that people can get through it. And of course, you're tracking that ride on in those fast track lanes. I mean, you can even go online, get a one-time use. You're at home, you're at work, whatever it is, you get a one-time use so that you can get yourself through this busy stretch of the 110 freeway, utilize it, and then you'll have to sign up later on for a fast track transponder. But the cars that are moving, and that's what Rich is tracking here, those are those fast track lanes. You'll be able to get into those lanes, bypass this. You don't want to do that? Okay, then you've got Crenshaw, Western. Western is my favorite. It's the best one. Figueroa, I looked at it. It looks like it's filling in. Broadway, Central, Avalon to the east. A lot of different ways to get yourself around it, but obviously you want to stay on the freeways, then utilize those fast track lanes that are moving. At left lane is open as well on the main lines, and as Mark said, hopefully an additional lane will be reopened. We'll watch this, of course, for everybody, and I'll send it back to you guys.
Good morning, everyone. Mark Kono live in Sky 5 HD. We continue to cover our breaking news coming out of South LA. And New Division LAPD pursuit of that stolen Lincoln Navigator out of unincorporated Pasadena last night that was carrying a casket with a body inside here. Now, that has come to a pretty spectacular crash here on the southbound side of the 110 freeway just before Vernon here. That SUV smashed into at least a couple of other vehicles right underneath the 42nd Street overpass here. We understand there are some injuries at this point. You can see the LAPD has this vehicle surrounded, and they are in the process of conducting their investigation. We also understand that there is going to be Sheriff's Department as well as CHP involvement here as well. The southbound side of the 110 freeway is where this is taking place. The fire department has mostly left after treating at least one, possibly more people under, again, that 42nd Street overpass here. Now, for the time being, they have temporarily shut down all southbound lanes. However, we believe in just a couple of minutes they will reopen the left 3 lanes. Those left 3 lanes were actually reopened for a couple of minutes, and they just had to stop them again. But that should reopen shortly here. In terms of the backup here, we are talking about a pretty extensive backup on that southbound 110 freeway that extends in towards downtown LA. So at least Wilshire Boulevard, it is going to be very, very slow on this southbound 110 freeway.
You talk about grand theft autos. You know, this, I don't think we've ever heard of anything like this. A hearse was parked outside this church here in East Pasadena. The guys who were working in that hearse were removing bodies from it, taking them in the church. Well, they left the hearse running, left their keys in there, and at some point, somebody jumped into the hearse and drove off with it. with a body still in the back of the vehicle. Now, the big question is, did the person who stole that hearse even know that there was a casket with a body in the back? Authorities at this point, they're not quite sure. Let's take you to the video overhead right now. This was from Sky 5 earlier today. This hearse, authorities were looking for it all last night and all through the morning. Well, they ended up finding it, got into a pretty hefty police chase with it, and then ended up in a crash, a very serious crash, with this black Lincoln Navigator that was carrying a body from East Pasadena. The crash happened on the 110 freeway near the LA Memorial Coliseum Sports Arena and the USC campus. It all ended about an hour ago after law enforcement spotted a vehicle fitting the description of the hearse. Our Sky 5 camera zoomed in on the wreckage after it was all said and done, and we were able to identify a casket in the back. LAPD and LA County Sheriff's officials confirmed that this is the vehicle that they have been looking for. The driver, of course, was arrested. One of the more interesting parts of the story is that law enforcement tells us they were able to track this vehicle down because they were tipped off by a Good Samaritan. Have a listen.
What I'd like to do is show some kind of gratitude and appreciation for the public, as it's my understanding that a member of the public was the one that initially was able to locate the vehicle. After witnessing the vehicle, it's my understanding that they alerted Los Angeles Police Department personnel who engaged with the suspect in a pursuit approximately about 7:40 this morning.
And that pursuit ended in a pretty serious crash involving multiple vehicles, again on the 110 freeway southbound near the LA Memorial Coliseum. Here's how it all began, though. That black Lincoln Navigator, it was stolen around 8 o'clock last night from the St. Anthony Greek Orthodox Church here in Pasadena, where I'm live this morning. Officials tell us the SUV was stopped outside the church. Employees had 2 bodies in that SUV originally that they were moving into the church. They took one of the bodies in, and they left the vehicle running. Unfortunately for those employees, when they came back outside to get that second body, their vehicle was gone. Somebody took the vehicle with the body in the back. Law enforcement worked to track it down just as quickly as they possibly could. Back out here live at the scene, law enforcement officials tell us despite that very serious wreckage and the crash you saw right there live from the scene, the body and the casket are in good condition, much to the relief of the family. There is actually a funeral at this church here in East Pasadena that's taking place later this morning. That funeral is going to be held for the body of the first casket that was successfully loaded here. No word yet on what's going to happen with the body of the second one. Maybe if that funeral was planned for today or later this week. Although I think everyone now breathing a big sigh of relief now that we have found out where that vehicle was and the body will be safely returned to its family. We're live in East Pasadena. I'm Steve Couge, KTLA 5 News. Frank, Jess, back to you.
And back to our breaking news. A stolen hearse carrying a casket with a body inside has been found. A tip led police to the vehicle, and after a short pursuit, the suspect crashed the hearse on the 110 freeway. That has led to a major traffic backup. KTLA's Lauren Lister live in South LA with the latest for us. Lauren, good morning.
Frank, good morning. New at this hour, the LA Sheriff's Department sending a huge thank you out on social media to that Good Samaritan who called them, leading to that pursuit and that crash right here on the 110 South, which you can see is now open and flowing at this hour. As LA County Sheriff's Department says, that grand theft auto suspect is in custody. Take a look. That black Navigator being towed a short time ago was being used as a hearse that authorities say was stolen last night from a church in East Pasadena with a casket and body in the back. That has now been towed, and for the family of that loved one who had died and was being transported in that stolen SUV, that casket and body have been found and can be returned. Authorities saying it was, in fact, still in that vehicle. Now, Sky 5 was overhead earlier, the vehicle getting into a crash on the 110 South around Vernon just after 7:45 this morning. This was the end of a pursuit that authorities say started when a member of the public was following the vehicle just after 7:30 this morning. That was at Figueroa and 23rd. Well, that Good Samaritan called police, who responded trying to pull over the driver who wouldn't yield. The driver gets onto the 110 South, then crashes, and now authorities saying this.
You know, it's unfortunate that the family has put through further trauma and having to deal with this situation unfolding as it has. It's my understanding that the deceased individual's remains are undisturbed, besides perhaps some impact from the traffic collision, which is obvious on your screen there.
So that is some very positive news for the family of that loved one whose body was in the back. Now, this all began last night at the scene you're looking at. Sheriff's Department says that Navigator SUV being used as a hearse was at St. Anthony Greek Orthodox Church on Rosemead in East Pasadena. The Navigator initially had 2 bodies inside when it arrived to the church. One of the bodies was being taken into the church, and when they came back out to get the other, the Navigator was gone. This was at about 8 o'clock last night. So fast forward, this all coming to an end just a short time ago right here on the 110 this morning. Now, video showed that a few other vehicles were involved in that crash. LAPD just moments ago at last check was trying to figure out if there were any injuries involved in this wreck. At this point, that suspect who is in custody has not been identified, nor do we know the motive. For now, that's the latest live here in South LA. I'm Lauren Lister. I'll send it back to you.
Okay, Lauren, thank you for that. Riverside County Sheriff's detectives have identified a vehicle that might be involved in the triple murder at a Paris cemetery. It's a silver 2007 GMC Yukon. They'd previously identified a similar dark blue SUV as a possible suspect vehicle. The license plate of the silver truck they're looking for now is 8BKX913. Investigators previously identified the suspect in the slayings as 33-year-old Jose Luis Torres Garcia. He has lived in Paris and Mead Valley and has ties to San Jose and Mexico. Anyone with information on his whereabouts or the SUV is urged to contact the Riverside County Sheriff's Department.